Welcome back. Time now to delve into another aspect of politics. This time we head out to Osun State to check up on what exactly is the origin of the crisis. Some would say it is two court judgments or maybe one court judgment reinstating the sacked local government chairman that precipitated this crisis of, accusations of attacks and counterattacks leading to the deaths of a number of persons. The figures we're not quite sure of. The PDP is quoting 5, the APC saying 6. But let's speak with the chairman of Osun State Independent Electoral Commission, Mr. Hashim Abioye, who joins us via Zoom from Osogbo. Good morning, Mr. Abioye. Thank you so much for finding time to join us on the program this morning.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning.
I want us to start with the court judgment, which has seemingly precipitated this crisis. And I want you to provide some form of interpretation for us this morning, particularly because the PDP is giving its own interpretation of the court judgment, saying that it dispenses with certain matters and didn't particularly reinstate the sacked chairpersons. Do you agree with that court judgment, or perhaps you provide for us an aerial view of the position of the State Independent Electoral Commission and, by extension, the position of the state government?
Well, thank you. I would say that in a bit of a tight corner to speak on this issue, because I was the one who prosecuted the two matters before the Federal High Court. The matter filed by the PDP and the one filed by the APP at the Federal High Court against the conduct of the 2022 local government election by OSIEC. As at the time, I wasn't expecting to become the chairman of Osun State Independent Electoral Commission. I never envisaged it. That's why I said I would be in a bit a tight corner to speak on it. Because as an umpire now, because the chairman of Osun State Independent Electoral Commission, I must be seen to be holding the balance fairly among all political parties. But I will still speak about it because I'll be speaking not only from the viewpoint of analysis, but also from the standpoint of first-hand information. I just mentioned to you now that I was the one who prosecuted the two matters, and alongside other lawyers. PDP filed a suit before the Federal High Courts before the notice of election conducted by OSIEC in 2022 was issued at all, while the APP suit came after the notice of election had been issued. The premise of the suit was the application of the Supreme Court decision in OSIEC versus Action Congress. The decision in OSIEC versus Action Congress was a decision that centrally dealt with the malfeasance of OSIEC in the 2007 election. And the Supreme Court held that the election conducted by OSIEC, with respect to which a notice of 21 days was issued, was against the provision of the Electoral Act then. And the Supreme Court, both the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court, nullified the election. So OSIEC came under the heavy hammer of the judiciary in 2010. So the same thing happened in 2022 when OSIEC was about to conduct a local government election that we knew would hit the rock at the end of the day. And that was when PDP briefed us and we went to courts when they were contemplating to conduct local government election. And we knew that that election would not be in line with the notice. The Electoral Act provides for 360 days, while they wanted to conduct election then with a notice shorter than 360 days provided by the Electoral. So we approached the Federal High Court to interpret sections 28, 29, 30, and 150 of the Electoral Act 2022 and to apply the decision of the Supreme Court in OSIEC versus Action Congress, and to come to the conclusion that any election conducted by OSIEC, I'm not talking about any state electoral body, but I know that Section 150 of the Electoral Act applies to all other state electoral bodies as well. But OSIEC in particular, which was at the center of the decision of the Supreme Court in 2010, so will not be allowed to conduct such election again. So in the course of the PDP suits, OSIEC issued notice of election, and the Osun State House of Assembly repealed the OSIEC law then, 2015 OSIEC law, and enacted the OSIEC law 2022. But yet, in the OSIEC law 2022, there is provision for 360 days notice of election, the same as that of the Electoral Act 2022. But yet, OSIEC went ahead to conduct election, issuing only 60 days as against 360 days. That was the premise why PDP amended its suit before the Federal High Court, and the Federal High Court granted the amendment in order to bring the fact, the reality, the emerging fact into the issue for the courts to determine. And the decision in that case came on the 25th of November 2022, where the courts nullified the election and sacked the purported elected officials. Now that of the APP, it was a case filed by another political party, the Action People's Party, though I prosecuted it as well. But that case was instituted after OSIEC had issued notice of election and after the Osun State House of Assembly had enacted the OSIEC law 2022. The two decisions went against OSIEC and went against those who participated at the election, the beneficiaries of the election, which was the APC, alongside some of its candidates.
Right.
So as a result of that, they appealed the two decisions. The decision of the Federal High Court in APP's matter by my Lord Ayo Emmanuel of the Federal High Court. The decision of the APP came on the 30th November. That was 5 days after the decision of the Federal High Court in that of the PDP's matter. Now the APC, alongside some other appellants, appealed the two decisions. They appealed that of the APP, they appealed that of the PDP.
All right, Mr.
They prosecuted only that of the PDP.
Right.
They did not prosecute that of the APP. I mean, they abandoned it. And OSIEC filed an application before the Court of Appeal to have the appeal dismissed in that of the APP's matter, and the Court of Appeal dismissed that appeal.
Well, Mr. Aburi, I understand that there's a lot of backstory to this, and we can never capture it, at least with the time that we have on the show. But as much as the backstory is important, the way forward is also important. And what I really find concerning most times is, you see, all of the gentlemanly exchange in the courts and maybe behind the scenes is not what you find in reality or on the streets, as they say. Because what we saw yesterday was bloodshed. We didn't have this exchange that this is what the law says, this is when the case was filed. No, what we had was people macheting each other, people attacking each other, and deaths, sadly. I know you were a member of the PDP. You had to say you're no more a member, being now the head of OSIEC.
I'm not a member of the PDP.
Yeah.
I am not a politician.
I understand that. You're a lawyer.
For PDP, I prosecuted a matter for APP. So I am a seasoned legal practitioner. I'm a legal professional.
Exactly. I know you've had to put that out. But the point is, there has to be a way forward. The APC... Yes. People are laying claim to the office. You are preparing for elections, I believe, this Saturday. Has that changed, seeing the crisis that we're seeing playing out in the state? Because people wonder, if election has not come and we're seeing death, what will happen on the day of election?
Well, let me say this. It was because some people somewhere instigated this crisis, which was needless. The Court of Appeal decision, which they premised their right on, let me say their right on, was never in any way about reinstatement of the sacked officials. The Court of Appeal merely held that the suit of the PDP before the Federal High Court was premature and speculative, and it struck it out for want of jurisdiction. The issue that could have propelled the Court of Appeal to determine the validity or otherwise of the election, which could have gravitated towards declaring those sacked officials as validly sacked or otherwise, was the issue that the Court of Appeal treated as academic. So as we talk now, the Court of Appeal decision of 10th February 2024 did not in any way talk about any reinstatement. The relief of reinstatement was never there. The only judgment that is subsisting now is that of the Court of Appeal. I mean, is that of the Federal High Court and the the Court of Appeal decision which dismissed the appeal of the APC in the APP's matter. If the court sneezes, if we are truly about rule of law, and if we know that adherence to rule of law and being truthful to the rule of law is all that we need in order for us not to have crisis. Some people instigated this crisis claiming what is not. And what I'm saying in essence is that the only decision now that we can hold on, particularly which is a hook on the neck of OSIEC now, is the decision of the Court of Appeal.
No, what I'm saying is, will the election still go ahead? I understand. Will the election still go ahead this Saturday is what I'm saying. The
election is going on. The election will go ahead by God's grace. And I want to tell you that all is said for the election to go ahead because there is no court order has stopped OSIEC from conducting the election. In fact,
really, Mr. Abioye? But the court order is here, that's the appeal court order, and it says that there's an order of perpetual injunction restraining the first defendant from releasing the updated voters register across the Osun State.
That is not the court order. Those were the reliefs that we sought before the lower court. Those were the reliefs that the claimant at the Federal High Court sought, which the Federal High Court got. Which the Federal High Court granted, which later went to the Court of Appeal. But in that don't forget that I said that there is no way we will discuss this issue without mentioning the PDP and the APP's matters, which were two separate suits that were decided by the Federal High Court, and now the decisions of the Federal of the Court of Appeal, and now on those decisions. So the reliefs we were citing were the reliefs sought before the Federal High Court. So it is not about the present election that we want to conduct now. Don't forget that I was not the OSIEC chairman as at 2022 that this issue arose. So what I'm saying now is that there is no order stopping the election in any way. No court has restrained OSIEC from conducting the election. Look at the Court of Appeal judgment of 10th February, which is what some people are now using to cause crisis here. They are using
Most definitely, Mr. Abioye, when we get the other party, we'll definitely get more interpretations to the court orders, both that from the High Court and the Court of Appeal. We must anchor at this point, and thank you very much for your time on the program. We've been talking with Mr. Hashim Abioye, he's the chairman of Osun State Independent Electoral Commission, who has joined us on this segment via Zoom from Osogbo, the Osun State capital. And from Osun State, we head out to another big conversation. This time around, we'll be looking at leadership, accountability, and of course, the responsibility of the citizens in the mix. Join us again. We'll be right back.